Welcome back to So You Really Want to Learn Latin, and today we are going to be looking at a few little things from chapter 8 in book 3. Last time we were looking at conditional sentences, and I did say that there was a funny type of conditional sentence called a mixed condition, where you kind of get a bit of a mixture of the types of conditional sentence you're doing. And so we'll start there. So a mixed condition is where you have one type of condition in the protasis and another in the apodosis. Remember, the protasis is the if bit of a conditional sentence, and the apodosis is the sort of result of that condition. Okay, so this typically happens with impossible conditions, and it's where the protasis is referring, for example, to what would have happened in the past but didn't. Okay, so it's an impossible condition. If something had happened, brackets, but it didn't. And then the apodosis refers to the present. So an example of that would be, if I had lived in Rome, I would now be a Roman, for example. If I had lived in Rome, I would be a Roman, but I didn't, and therefore I'm not. Or another example of that, if you had come yesterday, I would be happy. Okay, so if in the past, brackets yesterday, if you had come, I would now, in the present, be happy, okay? But I'm not happy because you didn't come. So it's one of these impossible conditions, but it's a mixed condition. And so you get a mixture of the subjunctives in the protasis and the apodosis, okay? So if we do that one in Latin, if you had come, si venisses, okay? Si, followed by the pluperfect subjunctive, because it is an impossible condition referring to the past. If you had come, si venisses, and then if that had happened, I would now be happy. Laetus essem. Okay, imperfect subjunctive, impossible condition referring to the present. I would be happy. Laetus essem. And I would be happy, brackets, but I'm not, if you had come yesterday, brackets, but you didn't. Okay, so that is a mixed condition, and you can read all about it on page 82 of the course. Okay, now, two other quick little things I want to cover. They are also on page 82. The first one is when you talk about how old someone is. Okay, I am 50 years old, or you are 30 years old, or she is 10 years old. Okay, so that expression years old, in Latin it is done with annos natus. Now, annos is just the accusative plural of the word for year, and it's in the accusative because it's sort of time, how long. Okay, and natus just means having been born. So I am having been born for so many numbers of years. Okay, so time, how long goes in the accusative, and we're using natus, and that word natus would agree with whoever it is that we are talking about. Okay, so if it's masculine, it'll be masculine. If it's feminine, it'll be feminine, and so on. So, you know, if you're looking at a little baby and it's a boy, you might say he is 2 years old. Duos annos natus est. Or if it was a girl you were looking at and she was, let's say, 5 years old, you would say quinque annos nata est. Okay, she is 5 years old. Okay, and then the third thing I want to talk about today is the adverb quam. Now, quam, we've seen it in all sorts of places. We get it from qui, quod, quem, quam, quod. We've also had it meaning than. The Romans are fiercer than the Greeks. Okay, that word than would be quam. But it's also used as a sort of exclamation when you want to say something like, how happy I am. Okay, quam laetus sum means how happy I am. Or if you want to say how quickly she runs, let's say, quam celeriter currit, how quickly. Okay, so quam there is just meaning how. Okay, so with those three little things, mixed conditions, annos natus as a way of saying how old somebody is, and quam, meaning how, we can just tackle a few of the little sentences we've got here on page 83. They kind of use a mix of those things we've just covered and also the conditional sentences we've been doing earlier. Okay, so a couple from Latin into English. We've got, for example, first one nice and easy, filia mea septendecim annos nata est. Okay, nothing hard about that. Filia mea, my daughter. Septendecim annos nata est is 17 years old. Literally what that means is my daughter has been born, nata est, septendecim annos, for 17 years. That's time, how long, accusative case. Okay, we'll do number 3. We've got quam laetus sim si carmen illud iterum canas. Okay, now I've said this before, be very careful. Now that you know about the subjunctive, you've just always got to kind of focus in on it and think, whoa, hang on, that verb is in the subjunctive. Why? So, quam laetus sim si carmen illud iterum canas. Quam laetus sim, how happy, and you've got sim. Now, it's not how happy I am, because that would be quam laetus sum. This is quam laetus sim. Sim, present subjunctive of sum. Now, we know that the present subjunctive is used in improbable conditions. Okay? If I were to do this, then I would do that. So, quam laetus sim, how happy I would be, see if carmen illud iterum canas, if canas, you were to sing, illud, Carmen, that song, iterum again. How happy I would be if you were to sing that song again. Okay, so there you've got an improbable condition and you've got quam meaning how. Okay, it's all coming together. And then we'll have a look at number 5. Ad hoc viveret nisi in pongnam solus ruisset. Okay, ad hoc viveret. He would be living still. Ad hoc means still, and vivo is I live. So viveret, imperfect subjunctive of vivo. We're focusing on conditions, so we know that the imperfect subjunctive refers to an impossible condition referring to the present. Okay, it would be happening now if something, but it isn't because that didn't happen. Okay, so ad hoc viveret, he would be alive still, nisi, if not or unless. So if not, ruisset, he had rushed, solus, alone, in pongnam, into the fight, into the battle. So he would still be alive if he hadn't rushed alone into the battle. Okay, and there you can see you've got a mixed condition because he would be alive now in the present, so you've got the imperfect subjunctive, but in the protasis, in the if bit, it was referring to the past, if he had not done it in the past. Okay, so that's a mixed condition. Okay, now do notice, by the way, that the protasis and the apodosis can, I've said this before, they can be swapped around. So, although it's easier to understand if you see the if bit first, if he had not rushed into the battle, he would be alive now. When you see the word if, you think, this is a conditional. But very often in English and in Latin, those get swapped around. He would be alive today if he hadn't done something yesterday. Okay, so just be aware. It's another reason. Must have been pretty tiring being a Roman, actually. It's another reason why you have to kind of read all the way to the end before you can be certain what it means. I guess the Romans were tuned into it much more, and they knew what they were doing without having to look at the verb first and all that stuff. But for us, when we're going at a little bit of a slower pace, and 2,000 years on, it's worth following our golden rules of looking at the verb, finding the subject, working out which person and number the subject is it a he or a she or an it or a they or whatever, finding the subject, all of that stuff you're doing. It's just that at this stage in the course, we're doing that in kind of super fast time. But if for whatever reason you rush it and then you think, whoa, hang on, that verb was subjunctive, I didn't even contemplate why when I was going too quickly, slow it right down and think, what is the construction going on here? And at the moment, we're focusing on conditional sentences. So it's a conditional sentence. What type? Is it a simple condition? Is it an improbable condition? Is it an impossible condition? And if it is an impossible condition, you might find it's a mixed condition. Bit of it referring to the past, bit of it referring to the present. Okay, right, now as I've always said, the best way to really nail this stuff is to go from English into Latin. We've got some cracking little sentences for you at exercise 8.4, and I suggest you have a go at those. Well worth, you think you can do it because, yeah, I've got the hang of that. When you start putting it from English into Latin, and do check with the answers, there's an answer book, as you know, where you can check that what you're doing is correct. It's amazing how sometimes you're focusing on one thing and you just forget something else. Okay, so do have a go at those exercises. Do drop me a comment in the box below if you have any difficulties, any comments, queries and so on. And I'll see you back on this channel very soon.